Yeah, that's, I can adjust that here. Here we go. A little bit. All right. How does Mousy react if they smell something good? What if they hear something that's scary? It's the sound of a predator. It's a hawk cry. What are they going to do? Ah! What do they do? What do they do? All right. How do they celebrate? They just found some really yummy cheese. Woohoo! Nom, nom, nom. Party! Yeah, it's about that level. Cool. All right. How do they greet a friend? How do they dance? Cool. All right. Let's try someone contrasting now. Which one is that? Uh, yeah, there we go. All right. So different personality implied, if nothing else. Wider hips, so like right now your hands are kind of disappearing a little bit into her hips. So how does she walk? She's very pear-shaped. So his arms have to go out. Cool. How does she greet a friend? So, how does she greet royalty? How does she react to a threat? How does she celebrate a victory? There we go. Let's get a little closer. There we go. All right. How does she dance? One, two, three. Yep, there's a little pivot in the middle. So, one of the interesting challenges of a format like this is they can't, what animators would call like bend and stretch. So, like if this character needs to breathe heavily, the rib cage can't actually expand or contract. So we have to translate that into either forward, back, or up or down, or something we can do. So let's see her maybe like be really exhausted and panting. Cool. All right. And let's see her. What does she do when she's bored? Because here's another thing. When you have an inanimate object, like a puppet or a mask or a video game character, they need what they consider like rest animations. Because otherwise you're like, I don't know if my game locked up. Is it actually running? Is it not running? If they ever completely stop moving, they become dead. It becomes creepy. So there's always got to be a little something going on. Nice. All right, let's get one more and then we'll trade off. You want to try? Let's get someone different. How about let's try this dude. How does that dude greet somebody? How do they acknowledge a superior? What do they do if they're scared? What do they do if they're angry? Cool. Give me some rest animations. They're on guard duty and they're bored. What about a celebration victory? All right. Cool. So the further from your own body, the imaginary body is, the more that we might also start to look into things like, for this one, you know, can we maybe strap a piece of PVC to your arm so you can keep track of like, oh yeah, that's how far that sticks out, things like that. Yeah, when you get into Planet of the Apes kind of stuff, that have these arm extensions like the ones we played with, stuff like that. Um, cool, cool. All right, I'm afraid to get everybody through with just the one suit. We probably need to rotate through. So let me go ahead and exit. It's more person is definitely a good contrast. There's also a different background if you want. That could certainly be an alien. So if it's an alien, you have free reign to decide how they move. What do you think? What can we tell from their design? What can we infer from their design? What qualities do we see here? It's definitely something almost like fish-like, right? What does that maybe tell us about gravity or about the way that you might expect a character that looks like that to move? Cool. What do you think their primary senses are? Yeah, I mean they smell slash taste, right? Because it's kind of the same thing when you're in the water, I guess. Sound carries really well in water as well. Nice. What do you think their traditional greeting might be? I mean, some sort of a recognizable greeting for this race of creature, this species. Cool. And maybe a different one for someone who has higher status than you. Cool. And one for someone who has lower status than you. Nice. Nice. Cool. We're already getting some good rest animation there. How do they react when scared? How do they react when angry? How do they celebrate a victory? All right. Cool. Let's try someone different now. How about this dude? How does Badger smell something? Nice. What if they hear something? How do we distinguish? Cool. What if they remember something? Yeah, the arms of the laugh. Yep. Cool. How do they dance? Cool. Nice. How do they greet a friend? How about frog? Oh, the arms getting worse, isn't it? Yeah. How does frog move around? Nice. Nice. How does frog rest? Cool. How do they look around at a fly? Nice. Nice. All right. Cool. Okay. Cool. How would he greet a king? Yep. Proportions are going to be different. Cool. So what about this dude? And now proportions are definitely different. So like if you touch your stomach, your hands disappear into his body, right? So now we've got to find that sense of volume, right? How does he move around the space? How does he greet a friend? How does he greet an enemy? You need your left arm out a little more. It's disappearing into your body. There we go. Yeah, because he's a little bigger. Let's see him sit down and then like get up in the morning. Maybe at the end of a long day, he's got to get up. Sitting down and standing up. Ugh. And getting back up. Ugh. Nice. Yeah, good stretch. All right. What about if we gave this dude? What do you think Mousie's primary senses are? Okay. So what if we hear a hawk cry? What do we do? Lower a bit there. There we go. What about if we smell something delicious? How do we celebrate the fact that we found something delicious? What does a little victory dance look like? Oh, he's got that giant head, right? So if you put your hands here, it goes into his head. So it's got to be like, yeah, yeah, there we go. Yep. So we do have to kind of offset translate it. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, if put your head completely forward, like look straight ahead. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so if we have this dude, one of the things that we have to do in CG, as well as with puppetry and stuff like that, is basically a rest animation. Because if it stops moving, we don't know if it's dead, if it's game glitching, whatever. So even just something like breathing, this model doesn't have what animators would call like the stretch. So if you breathe in, its rib cage can't actually change volume. So we have to translate that into like an up, down, forward, back kind of thing, so that we can see it, we can observe it. So how would this guy maybe kind of just hang out when he's bored? What about if he's exhausted? He's just had to run from the other end of the ship. Breathing heavily, right? Trying to catch his breath. What does that look like? Cool. And then he's got to greet someone. What does he do? Well, take a look at the character too. Let's figure out like maybe there is a different greeting that people of this race or whatever it is, this species do. How would this creature greet someone? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I bet that would make a good sound if you like clap those things together. Yeah, yep. Cool, cool. Almost like a salute. Cool. What about this dude? How would they greet someone? We've got kind of some implied fish imagery, so maybe more fluid movement. If you want to think about flowing, right? Nice. How would they walk around the space? Can you mime lean on that? Can you use your mime skills to pretend to lean on that desk or that chair? Nice, nice. Cool. All right. Anything else you want to try before we swap it over? Or here, let's try one other thing. What I want you to do is I want you to lie down on your belly on that chair. Yep. And I want you to pretend you're in zero gravity, trying to move yourself through the space station, zero gravity. You can like swim through it, maybe? You can move the chair too if you want to. You don't have to turn your head that way, but. Or can you just float as though you were floating in space? Because it's queuing off your legs, the more your legs move, the more it actually moves you up and down. Keep your legs relatively steady, make the rest float. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So you can actually make yourself go up and down a little bit just by raising or lowering your legs. There you go. So it's partly an exercise in offset of like one thing to another. Cool. All right. All right. We'll try her. Actually, she could be an elf in the forest, or she could be an alien. Doesn't really matter. But let's try this. All right. So how does she move around? How does she greet someone? Cool. Does she have like a formal greeting or bow or salute or anything like that she might do? Nice. How does she dance? Cool. How does she celebrate? Things are going really well. What does she do when things are awful? All right, cool. Let's try a different body type now. So, outside the realm of actual biology, right? Because these are cartoon anthropomorphic animals. How does this dude walk around? How does this dude go to school? How does he greet friends? Yeah. The arms are much more limited in this one, which is an interesting kind of restriction on it, right? How does he do a little dance? Good. What if he's coming back from school feeling really guilty because he knows he failed his classes? Cool. What about the frog? The frog hears or sees a fly. Nice. Good. How does the frog greet a friend? Cool. What does the frog do when threatened? What does the frog do when angry? Cool. Yeah, some of them are. Some of the animal models are limited in different ways as well. So rewiring them ends up becoming a little different. Let's try. Let's try this dude. So he's got very different proportions, right? So his arms, yeah, you have to hold your arms out or else they disappear into his belly. Because his belly is much bigger out than yours is. So how does he walk around? Nice. Good weight to it. Yeah. What does he do when he's proud? And he just won a bunch of money betting at the casino. He's like, yeah, that's right. All right. What about if he just had to like run to catch up with the bus and now he's out of breath? Yeah. So rather than take it up and down, again, going back to that note about how we play it out to an audience, can you take it like more out to the side or straight up and down from the knees instead of bending at the waist so that we can still see his face? There we go. Nice. Yeah. So sometimes there's just technical reasons why we need to express something a different way. And it might be about being visible to the audience. It might be about restriction on the wardrobe or the, whether your mic pack is or something like that. But it's good to be able to make adjustments like that. What does he do if he's being like, I don't know, I see this guy's being kind of like smarmy. He sees someone walking down the street and he's hitting on them. What's he going to do? All right. And how's she going to react? How does she walk away from that? Cool. Is he following her? Maybe she needs to stand up to him. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. Back off, buddy. Good. Oh, and then she sees a friend. Maybe the friend will come over. That'll help. Yeah. Come on over here. Help me out with this dude. There we go. Yeah, now what you gonna do? Now there's two of us. We outnumber you. I have witnesses. Cool. All right. Something else or someone else you want to try? Actually, very similar to the panda. Nice. Yeah, some of these were just added last night, and are maybe not quite as problem solved yet in terms of the arm position, putting the panda and the badger and the frog. Oh, Mousy. Look at me and Mousy. What is Mousy's favorite thing in the world? Oh, let's see Mousy dance. All right. Cool. Oh, but again, his body's different proportions from yours, so you got to adjust. Right? That imaginary body sticks out a lot further than your literal body, especially the head. Right? Like what if he has to like scratch his head? There you go. Yeah. Way out there. Nice. Good. How does he eat? Where is it? There it is. Yeah, I think my arms is off a little bit again. And one of the things we're starting to have to get used to is these models have different proportions than we do, right? So there's also stuff with wardrobe or whatever, but like when your hands are down, they disappear into her skirt. So how do we have to carry our hands when we are playing a character like this? Right? How does she jog around the space? The hands will have to stay more out from the body, right? One way or another. They could go from the elbow, they could go from the shoulder. That doesn't matter, but they can't go through your own hips. How does she greet someone? Nice. So what if we go even a little less realistic? All right. So now we have a little more leeway. Now we're not even human. We're a completely different species. So how does this character now perhaps greet someone? Cool. What do they do when threatened? Yeah. Nice. Make themselves big. Cool. What about when they want to threaten someone else? Or intimidate someone? Cool. One of the other challenges of characters like this, or also like puppets or things like that, is that if you're ever totally still, it becomes dead. It's essentially an inanimate object. So that's why we have things like rest animations in games. So we know it's still going, it hasn't glitched. So even just things like breathing, and she's really pear-shaped. So again, those hands got to stay a little bit more out. Yep. But with things like models like this, they can't actually expand and contract the rib cage or do some of the other like bend and squish stuff that hand-drawn animation can. So we have to translate it into things we can do. And in this case, we can go forward, back, up, down, left, right, relative to the other body parts. So how would we make her breathing heavily? She just ran a race. Now she's here. How's she gonna breathe? Maybe a little less in the hands, because then it looks more like a squeeze of something else than a breathing of yourself. What can we do without the hands going in and out as much? But keep it up so we can play out to the audience as well, right? We want to be able to see. All right, and then maybe like a big breath, like when she's surprised. What does that gasp look like? Good, and now do that while looking in a different direction. So big inhale while looking somewhere else. Startled by something. All right, cool. Cool. How does she dance? Nice. Cool. All right. And yeah, their body parts are going to line up a little bit differently than ours. If we were doing this professionally, we could decide, do we want, when I touch my head, to calibrate with where it touches her head, or do I just need to like wear a big helmet to remember that like my head is bigger than their helmet, than their head, especially if you're something like this, right? Try and scratch your head. Yep. Nope, not your brain. Your head. There. Oh, there we go. Right. So we can also do things like, pad you out with pillows or put arm extensions on and things like that to kind of keep track a little bit as well. But a lot of it's got to be the performer, right? You've got to be able to have that imaginary body of knowing like, oh, okay, that's what I look like. And now decide, okay, how am I going to move? How am I going to talk? How do I breathe? Let's see how Mousy tracks down a delicious smell. Something smells good. Where is it? Gotta find it before someone else does, or else they'll eat it. All right, and let's see like a little celebratory dance when you find it. Nice. A little bit there. Cool. All right. What about when Mousy is scared? Ah, there we go. Yep, you gotta find it. Cool. How does Mousy greet a friend? Greet a friend. Nice. The floor's not level, that's why I have to keep adjusting. Let's try somebody a little bit different. So now we've got not just different size and scale, but also different limitations on the movement. These arms, like if you put your arms up, I think in this model, that's about as far as they go, right? And so some of that's actually an artifact. This is a character that we just added last night, so it's not completely mapped right, but it's an interesting challenge, sort of like Larval Mask, where the limitations of the mask become the limitations of the character. So if we have a character that can never really put its arms straight up, how do we still express what we want to express? Like maybe this is just a weird suit that like there's something in the way and you can't actually raise your arms up or else it would like bonk into something. So how do you greet someone? And so you're a greeter at a theme park this way and you got to greet someone. How might you express that through head motion or torso motion or leg motion or low arm motion? How do you show you're excited to see someone? How do you put it in other body parts? Nice. Yeah. And even in a different context, it might just be that, you've got something in your hands and you can't use your hands, but you still have to be able to express that. Let's try this dude. So what does this dude do when he's on guard duty and really bored? Nothing ever happens. Why am I sitting around here? Let's jump back out to it. Let's give him a spaceship. Spaceship. Oh, now he realizes somebody's watching. He just remembers he's on security camera. Oh, sorry. Right. How does he acknowledge somebody else going about their job? Cool. Yeah. Keep in mind, again, we've got things that stick out in different ways, right? So don't put that other arm thing through your own leg. How does this kind of a creature express sadness? Nice. Nice. How does this kind of a creature celebrate victory? Cool. All right. And don't forget, you can breathe, you can make sound, whatever it is. Like sometimes if it's performance capture, you'll be voice acting at the same time. If it's just motion capture, they'll have another voice actor probably doing things later. But that just means it doesn't matter what you do, right? If it's MOS, which means without sound and any kind of film stuff, it means that you can make whatever sounds you want, and it doesn't really matter. So it's about whatever helps you give a performance. And often, making noise does help us embody the performance. And it also means you're more likely to get side coached. So you might have someone talking you through it. You're like, okay, you're going to peek around the corner there. You're not certain. You're a little scared. You're going to peek around the corner, down that hallway to your right. To your right. Yeah, you peek down that hallway. Okay, nothing's there. Excellent. Good. Good. And now you're going to look over back behind you. Good. And look around, make sure no one's looking. Good. And now you're going to practice your dance moves. Now you know no one's looking. Excellent. Cool. Cool. So it's a nice example of instant gratification meets imaginary body to me. So sometimes even just having this image can allow you, even without this, to have a different persona. So thinking about if you were like in Simulator playing three different characters, like Emily was, how can we have one body for one character and a different body for another character, just so that we get some sense as soon as they come on of like, oh, I know which one they're being now. But of course, we're recording the data, so I could also, if I wanted to, I could map the movement you did for this character onto this character. So then it becomes an interesting challenge of like, how specific is it? Do we always want to play two type? Can we play against type? But anyway, I think it's a fun thing to experiment with. We should swap over to Joe now, I think, just for time. Joe's only having one suit is not quite as much time in the suit.